What's up? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to a new video. It's a cold one tonight. It's about 30 something degrees, but it's a little bit warmer in the garage. Unfortunately, I can't close the garage since the truck is so big. But what we are installing tonight is an Injen cold air intake. It's a dual intake. I did a lot of research and a lot of people had really great reviews on this one. The sound is amazing. The overall turbo sound and spooling and kind of blow off sound is way more exaggerated with this than any other intake that I've heard, at least. Like I said, I did a lot of research, watched a lot of videos and everything, and a lot of people were happy with that one. For me, it's between the Injen intake or the Roush intake. Both really great. The Roush is just one big filter with one big elbow. Like I said, this one is dual, so it has dual filters. It looks cooler. Honestly, it's not for power or anything. It's totally for sound. It actually sounds really good. And the really cool part about it is you do not need a tune for this. I'm so used to the STI that if you look at it wrong, you're going to need a tune. So throwing on an intake and not having to put a tune on the truck is really awesome. So I'm going to go ahead, show you how it's done. It's pretty straightforward. And then I'll try to get you some sound clips and just do some revving and everything. And show you what it sounds like. But I'm really excited to get this on. With this order, I also ordered the JNL oil catch can as well, the oil separator, but that got left behind in the shipment, so that's coming tomorrow. So I'll install that tomorrow night, which is good because I'd probably try to do it all tonight. So it's good that I'm kind of taking it in stages. So let's go ahead, let's pop the hood, get the stock air intake off, and then we can go ahead and install the new one. All right, so here's all the pieces unwrapped from the box. There's actually a decent amount. So you can see the dual piping. I went with the wrinkled black. You can actually get it in chrome as well, but I'm not a big fan of chrome. There's the dual intakes. It also comes with a nice little air box to seal it to avoid heat soak. So it is a really nice piece. I'm impressed with the quality. It comes with everything you need, all the little gaskets and hose clamps and all that, instructions, all the hardware. Don't mind that stuff. That's my radiator that I can install later on as well, which will be a separate video most likely. But it seems pretty straightforward. This is the stock intake, nothing to write home about. It's just one box with one paper filter. It's got a little snorkel here. So basically all of this gets removed. Then there's going to be two inlets or two filters, two pipes, instead of the single inlet like this. The Roush one that I was looking at as well, that was just one single giant pipe and then had a big red filter here. But I just like the look of the dual, and the sound difference, I think, was much better with the Injen. So let's go ahead, let's get the stock one off, and then we can go ahead and get all this installed. So we got the Injen air box all ready to go. So I just put the rubber trim here up top, around the actual intake inlets and down at the bottom here. So that is ready to go. Really nice piece. I'm really happy I went with the wrinkled black. Has a nice finish. It's a typical wrinkled black. Really nice. Looks high quality. Everything is super strong. You know, it's heavy duty. It's not flimsy or anything. So really nice piece. But all right, now we're going to be moving on into the engine bay over here. And start getting all the little hardware and everything that we need to get this installed. So let's go ahead and get that knocked out. All right, so this little grommet right here, we're going to install this. This is called a standoff stud is what they call it. So this bottom piece, we're just gonna pop right into that rubber grommet because that is where the air box is gonna sit right on top of here. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so now we're going to install the actual air box. It's pretty straightforward. This bracket right here is going to go right to the 13mm radiator bracket. There's a little hole right here. The hood strut's blocking it. That one is going to line up with this hole. And then this little hole in the bottom is just going to pop into that little standoff stud we just installed in that rubber grommet down there. So let's see how this fits. All right, next step, we're going to install that bracket. You want to make sure that bracket is underneath the little hole on the frame. And we're going to use the little provided hardware here, just the little Allen key with the washer. There's actually a threaded nut on the bracket there. So this is all we need. So let's go ahead and install that. All right, let's try that again. Of course, I dropped it, but I got everything with a magnet. So let's try this again and be a little bit more careful. All right, now we're going to tighten up the standoff stud that they call it. Simply just a 10mm nut and the washer that they are provided with. So we're going to go ahead and just slip that on. And then the nut. And we're just going to tighten it down. All right, so before we continue getting all the tubes on, there's one thing you need to do. You actually need to install a little tube right here. So I already took the little plug off. It's located on this skinny pipe. If you look back, I had to take the engine cover off. But there is the tube, and they provide you with this little tube that comes with the kit. You need to install this in the crankcase vent, or you might get a check engine light. And you want to make sure the opening, this part, is facing the turbo. So it's basically facing the rear of the truck. So I'm going to go ahead, install that, and then plug that right back in. All right, so this is pretty difficult to do one-handed, but I will try my best to show you. So this is the little tube, and see that little hole right there. Basically, I'm going to position the beveled edge toward the turbo, which is down there, and we're simply just going to slide it right in here. Like that. And then we're just going to plug the little hose back in like that. And we should be good to go. All right, so let's continue on with the install. We're going to install this big 4-inch elbow right on the lower tube right there with the 2 large hose clamps. Next step, we're going to install the smaller silicone hose onto the upper pipe right here. Same thing, 2 smaller hose clamps, and just slide it right on there. Next up, we're going to install these little viber mounts, as they call them, and these top 2 threads right here. These are for the actual intake pipes, so let's go ahead and screw them in. All right, next step is we're going to install the large intake pipe going on the lower hose right there. And we're just going to loop it through the hole on the heat shield. And then we're going to install the last viber mount on that. Now what we're going to do is actually tighten everything down, make sure this is positioned correctly, and then we can go ahead and install the top intake tube. So I went ahead and put the air temp sensor in here, just took it right off the stock one, popped it in here. Took a little bit of effort to get it out. Basically, just want to turn it a little bit, then kind of wiggle it out. And then you just use the open grommet for this one. And then on the back of this one right here, you just use the grommet plug. So you're only going to plug it in here. Fits here, you got a lot of slack, so you are good to go. So all we got to do now is just throw on the filters and we will be set. First, I'm just going to throw a small zip tie on the air temp sensor line, just so it's out of the way. I'm going to zip tie it down there so it's not hitting the filters. All right, guys, so install is complete. Very, very nice and clean. I really like the look of this. It almost looks OEM, even though there's two intake tubes as opposed to the one air box. The finish is really nice. The fit and finish of the actual intake is beautiful. There was no weird fitment issues or anything like that. Everything lined up. Everything fits through the holes very nicely, and it's a really nice system. The only thing that I was a little weary about was the fitment of the temp sensor right here. It's just a rubber grommet that you just kind of shove in there. There's no lock or anything like that. You just kind of place it in. It's in there nice and firm. I don't see it falling out or causing issues, but I just thought that was a little weird. I thought it'd be a little bit better if they had a little bit of a locking mechanism in there to make sure it's in there correctly. But I'm pretty confident it's in there nice and firm. But overall, like I said, really nice. You can get this in polished as well, which is obviously a different type of look, but I'm more of an OEM plus kind of guy. So the wrinkled black finish kind of spoke to me a little bit more than the polish. But now that we installed it, let's go ahead. Let's go for a test drive. Let's hear how this thing sounds. All right, guys, so as you heard, it sounds fantastic. It actually sounds way better than I ever anticipated. It has a lot of turbo noises, a lot of whooshing, obviously, but it sounds really good. I'm really impressed with it. Just for the intake, that's all I did. I mean, I don't even think you would call that performance. They say you get about 11 horsepower, 11 torque, but we all know intakes really don't really do too much. It's purely for sound. I'll report back if I notice any changes in feel of the overall power and also the gas mileage. I'll see if it improves at all. The stock intake, I noticed it had a lot of crap in the filter and everything and in the actual box. So I'm curious to see how much better the gas mileage is with new intakes on there. Obviously, I'm getting on the truck a little bit more than I usually do just to hear it. But once the honeymoon phase settles down, I'll be able to drive a little bit more normal and I'll probably get a little bit more accurate reading on the gas mileage. But overall install was really great. The fit and finish of it was fantastic. It sounds great. It was a little bit more on the expensive side. It was one of the more expensive ones, but I believe it's worth it. I think the other options out there are really nice as well, but I just like the dual intake tubes and I just prefer the sound of this. So that is all I got for you guys. I still got more truck mods on the way. I promise you, more STI mods as well. So stay tuned for those. But if you guys have any questions at all about the intake, the truck, or the STI, be sure to ask them below. But in the meantime, keep it clean, keep it simple, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.